It's time to talk about whatever this is. Hey, it's Em, and I just finished reading Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I saw it at the library and recognized it from the Goodreads Choice Awards ballot, and decided to pick it up. And well, let's start with the basics, the plot. And by the way, I'm probably going to go into some specifics later on, so if this is a book that you haven't read yet and don't want spoiled, come back to this video after you've read the book and let me know your thoughts on it. It seems like I'm in the minority. A lot of people love this book. I didn't, for a lot of reasons. I think for me, the wasted potential feeling is very strong here, but let's start with the fact that this is it starts in October 1909, finishes in February 1910. It is set in a world that is ours, except that fairies are a known entity. They are recognized as existing. There is a whole class of research known as dryadology, and Emily Wilde is a dryadologist for Cambridge University in England, but is traveling to this Scandinavian country. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It's basically Iceland, but not. And I say that because she says it's an island off the coast of Norway, I want to say, or Scandinavia in general. But all of the naming conventions, the alphabet used in the words that are native are, from what I can tell, Icelandic. And I only say this because I worked with a woman from Iceland, so I recognized some of the, words, letters, and things like that from having worked with her. And so Iceland, but not. Emily is in this small village. She is purely, I want to say, somebody asked me when I was describing this book, well, is she unlikable like Sherlock Holmes? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Fully focused on her work, academic, doesn't really think about the social niceties, which gets her into trouble a lot. She gets to this small village and manages to immediately turn the people off just by not having done the basics of learning anything about the culture before arriving. Emily only knows about the fairies that she's planning to research, and therefore, steps wrong multiple times all over the place. And, I think it's meant to be, I don't know, cute, quirky, endearing. I can't tell. It's very not like Other Girls-esque in a way but it just makes Emily not terribly tolerable for me as a reader. Now, here's the thing, the book is written in form of journal entries by Emily, so we're completely in her head almost entirely the whole time, and I'll talk about the moments that were not later, but it's so dry and analytical in the way she writes. It's a weird combination of overwritten, because her desire to be overly descriptive at some points is strangely romantic or romanticizing for someone who otherwise is supposedly very academic and logical. And I guess maybe you could say, well, when you're studying fairies, there's going to be this kind of romanticization, this desire to describe ad nauseum to some degree. And so, okay, I guess. In any case, I found Emily, I couldn't, for someone who is potentially meant to be neurodivergent, which is not something that in 1909, 1910 would have been, something that she would bring up. But still, there's a sense that maybe the character is coded this way, and yet, I don't know. speaking from an autistic standpoint, I understand to a point, and then just at the same time don't think it's great. In any case, Emily gets to this village, starts her research, and then within a few days, a colleague from Cambridge, Wendell Bamblebee, there's a name, shows up to crash Emily's research trip. Wendell is very charming. He's handsome. Women swoon over him on the regular. He just moves into the same cabin that Emily is staying in. Luckily, there are multiple bedrooms, I guess. And every morning, a different girl from the village is like slinking out of the cabin because Wendell has, a rotating, revolving door of sexual encounters that we don't see on page or anything, obviously, because Emily would not be privy to that. But in any case, but it's obvious to the reader, if not to Emily, that Wendell actually just really likes Emily. The question is why? No one knows. By the end of the book, you still don't really know. You're like, I don't see the attraction here. Except that she's not like other girls, I guess. In any case, Emily suspects that Wendell has fairy blood, and then it later is revealed that not only does he have fairy blood, he is a fairy king. Of course he is. And it's just, and you get this whole story of Wendell's exile from his kingdom and how he's actually, the reason he's a dryadologist, besides being a natural for knowing things about fairies, is that he's looking for a kind of back door back to his kingdom, because fairy doors exist in a lot of different places, but they don't all lead, I guess, to the places that you want to go or something. For a book that has a lot of footnotes and a lot of supposed information about different kinds of fairies, common and courtly, it doesn't do a very good job of making things clear on how things work. That was another thing that I just found kind of irritating, is that I still didn't quite have a very good picture of any of it. And again, you could say, well, but that's the elusive nature of fairies. It's very hard to have concrete information, but at the very least, some of this information should have been clearer or just been stated to be flat out, we don't know how this works. Where some of the footnotes do say things like, it's not clear, but so-and-so thinks this, and there's a hypothesis that this, and I don't know. Footnotes like that aren't useful because they don't give me any concrete information. Why even bother including them? This book, okay? Anyway. So, of course, Wendell's actually in love with Emily, and he makes that clear. But the romance here is nil. There's no chemistry because, again, of the dispassionate form of, narrative here. There's, no feelings. I could identify places where I was meant to have feelings, and I just didn't. I just didn't feel anything, and I wanted to. I really wanted. I'm not a romantasy reader, and I think this is supposed to be romantasy, but the romance is not. It doesn't give. It does not give. And for me, again, a lot of people love this book, get the feels from it. I do not. There's a whole other plot about another fairy king trapped in a tree, and Emily being enchanted by this when they have an encounter with said tree, and she ends up going and freeing this other fairy king, who then insists on marrying her because that's how these things are supposed to go. You free me, I marry you, even though you're just a stupid mortal and not even that pretty, because, again, not like other girls. So now, Emily even hangs the lampshade, as the saying goes, by saying in a line how was it that I suddenly had fairy kings, plural, demanding my hand in marriage. And it's like, yeah, I don't know either, because there's nothing about you that's actually that interesting or attractive or likable. But okay, I guess I'm supposed to believe it. Yeah, there are these. The thing is, another problem with this book for me was that there are incidents. There is a changeling at someone's house in the village that Emily goes and torments. Again, doesn't make her very likable at all, because this is a child. Even if it is a fairy child, it is a child, and you have literally just stabbed it with iron. I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that. Okay. And then there are like 2 other young women go missing from the village, a lesbian couple. So I guess yay for rep there, but again, like, it felt perfunctory. The focus is on the hetero stuff between like Wendell and Emily and this other fairy king, and that's apparently where we're supposed to derive our romantic stuff. Anyway, and so then Emily and Wendell have to go look for them, and they stumble across a fairy frost fair kind of thing. And, so there are these incidents that occur, and then they get resolved. And so there's like this through line, ostensibly, of Emily trying to finish her manuscript, trying to write a paper for a upcoming conference or whatever, and Wendell trying to find doors back to his world. But those through lines are so thin as to not be there at all, and therefore the book lacks ongoing connective tissue. It feels very episodic, right? It doesn't feel cohesive or whole. It feels like, and then this happened and we did this, and then this happened and we did this, and then this happened and this happened. In any case, I don't know. It ends with, Wendell and the townspeople saving Emily from the fairy king, the winter fairy king guy who wants to marry her so that she can go back to Cambridge with Wendell, and there's a whole other book, I guess. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to read it, because I don't know. Do I like Wendell? He's very vain, very prissy, which tracks for a fairy king or fairy, courtly fae type, in any case. I could like him if he wasn't so hung up on Emily, because again, I just don't feel the chemistry and I don't understand it. And then there's a scene. Okay, sorry. Going back to Emily for a second. She's keeping this journal, which is the book. And at one point when she's in the fairy court of the Winter King, right? And like, they're prepping for the wedding and the days are dragging on, and she's got brain fog because she's enchanted and she can't leave, and she can't, she's being manipulated mentally. And she is writing about this conversation they were having at dinner, and then the king told the musicians to change the music, and she forgets what they were talking about. And I'm like, okay, well, if you forgot, did you remember later and then write it down in this journal? Like, that doesn't even make sense. If you forgot the conversation, then how is it written down in this journal? What? I mean, it would have been a simple line. I only just remembered as I was writing that this happened. Then I would understand. But it's just like, and then I forgot what we were talking about. And that's the end of the journal entry. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. I don't know. I didn't care for the main character. The writing was too dry. It was somehow both overwritten and too dry. Like, I don't know how you do that. That takes a special kind of talent, I guess, if you like this kind of thing. And like they're just, like I said, it didn't feel cohesive. It felt episodic in a way that it felt like somebody had posted chapters on Wattpad and then eventually put it all together in a book or something. I don't know. that's just how I felt about it. I gave it 2.5 stars, but on Goodreads I rounded down to 2 because I didn't like it enough for 3. There were just too many like issues for me with this book. If you've read it, let me know your thoughts, whether you liked it. Did you feel the chemistry? Because I did not feel it. I was not feeling this at all, and I wanted to so desperately, because for me, again, like I say, the wasted potential. Like, this is a great setup. If I had like been invested in the romance, if I had liked the characters, you know, I could forgive a lot of the other stuff, but like there were just too many places and ways in which this fell short. And will I read the second book? Maybe to see what's up with Wendell. I get the sense the last chapter in this book is just another little fairy story about the youngest son of fairy king and his wife or whatever. And I'm like, are we supposed to assume this story is about Wendell? Is this a setup for whatever's to come next? I don't know. Me. That's my whole feeling about this book. Like, why wasn't it better? Yeah. Why wasn't it better? It should have been better than this. Because yeah, the main character, like, the things that I think are supposed to make her likable or something don't. Like, she's, every time I try to put my hair up, it just slips right out of its bun. I've just got this constant messy bun, this constant like loose hair. I just can't tame it. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's all the cliches. It's all the tropes, and not anything interesting added to that, and not anything that makes her charming or likable, because she's just not. Yeah. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about the book. Let me know if you think I should read the second one. If you want another rant review of a book, I know they're often more fun to watch, because yeah, this didn't land quite right for me, and it just, like I said, the premise had real potential, real promise, and it just did not reach the heights. But in any case, will it make the best and worst of the year? I guess we'll see when I do that video next. But until then, take care.